In the heart of America's Midwest, where highways now cross and cities sprawl, rise mounds of earth. Silent, immense, mysterious. These are not natural hills. They are monuments, hand-built by a people long forgotten. 1,000 years ago, this land was home to the largest city north of Mexico. Tens of thousands lived here, constructing temples, plazas, and pyramids of soil. This was Cahokia, an ancient metropolis on the Mississippi. Larger than London at the same time, it was the center of a civilization that flourished, then vanished. Who built Cahokia? What drove its rise? And why did it collapse, leaving only mounds of grass and earth? Tonight, we uncover the lost story of America's forgotten ancient city. Cahokia rose near the Mississippi River in present-day Illinois, across from modern St. Louis. Here, rivers converged, the Mississippi, Missouri, and Illinois, a crossroads of water and land. Fertile floodplains offered abundant crops. Forests gave timber, wetlands teemed with fish and game. It was a place of opportunity, a land where people could thrive. By 1050 CE, villages scattered across the region merged into something greater. A city was born. Its center carefully planned, its layout aligned with sun and seasons. Cahokia was not chance. It was vision. Where rivers met, so too did cultures. Trade routes stretched outward, connecting the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. This was no isolated village, it was a hub of a continent. By the dawn of the 11th century, Cahokia exploded in size. From scattered hamlets, a true metropolis rose. Thousands flocked to its plazas. New homes spread across miles. At its peak, Cahokia covered square miles, a footprint larger than many medieval cities. The population may have reached 20,000, perhaps even 40,000. For North America, this was unprecedented. Cahokia became the beating heart of the Mississippian culture. Its leaders commanded labor and devotion on a scale never seen before. The city's growth was not random, it was engineered, organized with plazas, avenues, and ceremonial centers. Cahokia was the first great city of America. At Cahokia's center rose Monk's Mound, a staggering feat of human labor. Built from millions of baskets of earth, it towered 30 meters high, spanning 14 acres at its base. It was the largest man-made structure north of Mexico. From its summit, leaders oversaw ceremonies and politics. Temples crowned its peak. The city stretched below like a tapestry of fields and homes. To build Monk's Mound was to command thousands. It rivaled the pyramids of Egypt, not in stone, but in ambition. Even today, it remains monumental. Its grassy slopes a silent echo of the power it once symbolized. Monk's Mound was not merely a platform. It was the throne of a civilization. Below Monk's Mound lay the Grand Plaza, a vast open square flattened and shaped by human hands. Here, rituals unfolded. Festivals brought thousands together. Markets thrived with trade. The plaza was the city's stage. Surrounding it, smaller mounds rose like satellites, each with its own role. Temples, elite homes, ceremonial platforms. The Grand Plaza was unity in earth. It turned community into spectacle, daily life into ritual. People gathered not only to work, but to witness the sacred. The plaza bound Cahokia together. It was not just empty space, it was meaning carved into land. On Cahokia's western edge stood a circle of posts, massive wooden timbers arranged with precision. This was Woodhenge. At sunrise on solstices and equinoxes, the sun aligned with posts, marking the cycles of seasons. Priests and astronomers watched from the circle's center, tracking time, predicting planting and harvest. Woodhenge was both calendar and temple. It revealed a people deeply attuned to the cosmos. In a world without writing, Woodhenge was language of light. It told farmers when to sow. It told priests when to sacrifice. It told leaders that their city was bound to the rhythm of the sun. Cahokia was not alone. It was capital of a wider culture, the Mississippians. From the Great Lakes to the Gulf, from the plains to Appalachia, villages and chiefdoms built mounds, planted maize, and followed Cahokia's lead. Trade carried shells from Florida, copper from Michigan, mica from the Carolinas. Artifacts flowed into Cahokia, symbols of wealth and influence. The city was a magnet, drawing goods, ideas, and people. Cahokia's reach was vast, its networks continental. It was not an isolated experiment, but the heart of a system. The Mississippian world was America's first great civilization, and Cahokia was its crown. Cahokia dazzled with grandeur, but beneath its surface lay tensions. Archaeology reveals stark contrasts, lavish burials with jewels and shells alongside mass graves of sacrificed young women. Elites lived atop mounds, overlooking commoners in modest homes. Power was sacred but also harsh. Rituals bound community yet demanded blood. The city thrived, but not without cost. Cahokia's brilliance was shadowed by inequality, its order built on both faith and fear. Like all great cities, it was a mirror of humanity, capable of beauty, capable of brutality. One burial at Cahokia reveals its extremes. An elite man was interred on a bed of shells surrounded by lavish offerings. Beside him lay the bodies of over 50 sacrificed women, their lives given for his afterlife. Nearby, pits held other victims, men without heads, bound captives. This was not random. It was ritual. It proclaimed power, displayed dominance, and sanctified authority. Cahokia's rulers were not only leaders, but figures of divine awe. Their deaths demanded spectacle, their burials symbols of cosmic order. To rule Cahokia was to wield both reverence and terror. Its grandeur was inseparable from its shadows. For most, life was simpler. Families lived in wooden homes roofed with thatch. They farmed maize, beans, and squash, the three sisters of sustenance. Children played in plazas. Fishermen cast nets in rivers. Craftsmen shaped pottery, wove baskets, and carved ornaments. Life pulsed with rhythm, planting, harvest, ritual, trade. Not all were elites or victims. Most were ordinary people, living ordinary lives within extraordinary walls. Cahokia's strength lay not only in rulers, but in farmers, laborers, artisans. They built the mounds. They sustained the city. Without them, Cahokia would have been nothing more than earth and dreams. By the late 1200s, Cahokia's brilliance began to dim. Evidence shows overcrowding. Trash pits overflowed, sanitation faltered. Deforestation stripped nearby hills as wood was consumed for homes, fires, and palisades. Soil eroded, fields lost fertility. The city that once thrived on abundance now strained under its own weight. Conflicts emerged. Some neighborhoods were burned, whether by war or revolt. Cahokia had grown too fast, too large for its land to sustain. The very success that made it great planted seeds of decline. A metropolis built on earth and maize was vulnerable to the fragility of both. The signs of strain were everywhere, and soon the unraveling began. Nature turned against Cahokia. Around 1300 CE, climate shifted. The Little Ice Age cooled the northern hemisphere. Droughts alternated with floods, wrecking crops. The Mississippi flooded fields, while dry years brought famine. Maize, the city's foundation, became uncertain. Hunger spread, weakening trust in leaders, weakening faith in rituals. For a city so dependent on agriculture, climate change was catastrophic. Cahokia could build mounds, command labor, and chart the sun, but it could not command the weather. The heavens that once guided them now seemed to betray them. As skies shifted, so too did destiny. The city of abundance became a city of struggle. Cahokia's unity began to fracture. Once, rulers commanded awe. Now, their promises rang hollow. Woodhenge no longer brought certainty. Rituals no longer guaranteed harvests. People questioned the sacred order. Archaeological layers reveal palisades, fortifications built hastily, as if against threats within or without. Was it invasion? Rebellion? Civil war? The truth is unclear, but conflict is certain. Power that once bound thousands now divided them. The city that had been symbol of order descended into discord. Cahokia's rulers lost the mandate of heaven, and with it they lost their city. By the mid-14th century, Cahokia was emptying. Plazas fell silent. Mounds stood abandoned. People left, some returning to villages, others dispersing across the Mississippi Valley. By 1350, the metropolis was gone. No chronicler recorded its fall. No epic told its end. Cahokia faded not with fire, but with silence. Its people endured, but the city did not. What had been the largest city of North America became grass-covered hills, mysteries beneath soil. When Europeans arrived centuries later, they found only earthworks and no memory of the builders. Cahokia had become a forgotten city. Why did Cahokia fall? Scholars debate. Some argue environmental exhaustion, forests stripped, fields overused. Others point to climate change, the Little Ice Age disrupting harvests. Still others cite social unrest, rebellions against elite power, or conflict among factions. Disease, too, may have played a role, spread along trade routes. Most likely it was not one cause, but many. A convergence of pressures, a perfect storm of crisis. Cahokia's fall was not sudden ruin, but gradual abandonment as its foundation eroded. Like other great civilizations, it collapsed not from a single blow, but from 1,000 cuts. Though Cahokia vanished, its people did not. Descendants lived on, scattered among native nations across the Midwest and South. Oral traditions, art styles, and agricultural practices carried echoes of Cahokia. The city was gone, but the culture endured. When Europeans arrived, they met powerful tribes, Osage, Quapaw, Natchez, all inheritors of Mississippian legacies. Cahokia itself lay forgotten, its name unknown. Yet its memory survived in fragments, woven into the living heritage of native peoples. The silence of the mounds was not absence, but transformation. For centuries, settlers saw the mounds, but misunderstood them. Some thought they were natural hills. Others imagined they were built by a lost race, separate from native peoples. Only in the 19th century did archaeology reveal the truth. These were the works of indigenous Americans. Excavations uncovered artifacts, skeletons, ceremonial objects. Slowly, the story emerged. Cahokia was not myth. It was history. A civilization had risen here, long before Columbus, long before Europe imagined America. The mounds were not curiosities. They were monuments, and they demanded recognition. Cahokia is more than ruins. It is a mirror. It shows how cities rise, how they falter, how they fade. It shows the fragility of abundance, the risks of growth, the weight of environment and power. Cahokia warns that even the greatest centers can be undone by forces they cannot control. It reminds us that collapse is rarely sudden, but a slow unraveling. The story of Cahokia is not only about the past, it is about us. In its silence, we hear echoes of our own future. Today, Cahokia's mounds still stand, grassy hills rising from flat plains. Monk's Mound towers above, its summit offering views of St. Louis skyline beyond. Cahokia is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected, studied, remembered. Visitors walk its plazas, climb its mounds, and imagine the city that once was. Museums display artifacts, shell beads, copper plates, pottery etched with designs. Archaeologists continue to dig, to piece together stories from earth and bone. Cahokia is no longer forgotten. It is reborn as history. Cahokia was America's first great city. It rose with vision, thrived with abundance, and fell with silence. Its story is one of ambition and fragility, of power and impermanence. The mounds that remain are not just earth, they are memory, monuments to people who carved a city from soil. Cahokia asks us to remember that civilization is fragile, that greatness is fleeting, that the land we live on remembers more than we know. America's forgotten city is not truly forgotten. It endures in mounds, in heritage, in lessons whispered from earth. And it leaves us a question. When our own cities fall silent, what will remain to tell our story?